Hey everyone! Those of you watching on YouTube and Twitch, well, you've been with me since the beginning of this stream. Those of you on Facebook, we did have, well, the Empire kind of boarded our situation here, but we took care of them and the rebels won again. And so just to recap real quick for our Facebook watchers, and yes, pick the platform that you love the most. It could be YouTube, it could be Twitch, it could be Facebook, and post your comments. I'll answer them throughout the stream. If I don't get to your comments, well then I always go on afterwards and answer your questions then. But to recap for our Facebookers, Facebook watching peoples, we are working on the Han Solo blaster, the DL-44. And so this is a children's toy, and what we're gonna attempt to do is make it look as realistic as possible. So I am starting with a Ruby's toy gun. Now you can get this for about $15 online. I got this one at Amazon, and what I like about it is that for a children's toy, one, the size is pretty right. A lot of times when you want to use a children's toy for a prop, they're typically smaller scale and they look kind of funny when an adult holds them. So this is a great size. I also love all the detail that it has. Now, of course, it could use some improvements. And the nice thing with this gun is that, heck, I am not a professional prop maker, nor am I trying to make something where detail by detail, microscopically, it matches exactly what you see on the screen. And lucky for us, with the Han Solo blaster, it's not something you can even do even if you tried, because it turns out that movie to movie, and heck, even scene to scene, the gun changes. It's based on the German Mauser semi-automatic gun, and you can really tell from this classic rectangular cartridge area here. If you look up these pictures online, that's what the gun is modeled after. But the biggest difference that you're going to see in the movie version of the gun is that sometimes this scope is long the way it is here, other times it's short. But the one commonality that you will find is that the scope is not molded to the gun the way it is here. It's actually a separate portion that sits off to the side. So that gives us two options. One, well, we can go ahead and Dremel and cut the scope off and recreate it ourselves, or just leave it as is. And I figure because this is kind of our first project, getting our feet wet, I think I'm gonna leave it as is. We're gonna use very simple techniques and skills that we're gonna try out. So I'm not gonna bust out the airbrush or get into sculpting and molding or anything like that. We're gonna work and we're gonna make this work for us. And so at this point, there's about a 50-50 chance that this could be a total fail, which is the fun part about these live streams. This is actually a behind the scenes live stream. So you get to see and watch everything as it happens, whether it goes well or not so well. So we're gonna keep hoping. But anyways, I have a camera off here to the side that's gonna catch all the close-ups of what we're doing, because after all, this is the post-lunchtime slump. Not all of you are gonna make it to the end, I know. So what we do is we video all of these projects, and not only do we present them live now, so you can see all the steps, the successes and the fails, but we then present them again as a clip show. So that way, if you can't make it through the entire stream, well, you can always watch the clip show, and we present all of the most important steps for you to be able to replicate what we do minus the fails, because we'll do all that for you so you don't have to. So starting with our gun here, I'm going to fire up this camera to the side of me here, the invisible camera. It's like the Force camera or something. Anyways, let me get that rolling. So that way, those of you that want to join us for the clip show, well, you have all this marvelous detail right here for this gun, and you can check it out. Again, I am not a huge fan of the fact that the scope is attached to the gun, but we're gonna make it work. And I just had kind of a cool idea. What do you guys think about putting a laser pointer inside this scope? We can hollow it out and put a laser pointer. So comment if you would like me to try and put a laser pointer in this thing. If you don't really care, well then, you know, just click the like button. Heck, you know, we're gonna keep moving, but I don't know. I think I might give it a try. So to get started with this and looking at all the details, I think I want to add some of my own enhancements. So if we look closely here, one of the things that I see right off the bat that I don't like is this writing right here. And right above it is actually some raised lettering. And the problem with that is that once we start painting this gun and adding a lot of the distress effects, is that that raised lettering is really gonna stand out. And I don't, really want it to say 2008 Lucasfilms Limited, we're in battle here. This is homemade by the rebels. We're using what we have around us to build our weapons. So I'm going to start by sanding that off, and I'm going to go into my secret drawer here and grab some sandpaper. I have a couple different grits. So let me cut a piece here, and I'm going to start with this. This is 100 grit. And I'm also going to grab some 220, some old, and you can see by the wrinkled state how long this has been lying around, but we reuse everything. We are the rebellion. We cannot waste anything. Got to use everything that comes our path. So I'm going to cut a small sheet here and put this off to the side, and I'm going to start to sand this off. So this table wiggles a little bit, but you can see the lettering starting to come off with our 100 grit paper. And the table jiggles as it wiggles, but we're gonna work with it. It's the only table I can find in the planet of Icy Hawk, and the Empire had discarded this table, and I picked it up. I went ahead and just dumpster dove over at the Empire base, looking for some Death Star plans. You never know, they tend to throw that kind of stuff out sometimes. The janitor could throw it out, and then you can end up with some amazing Death Star plans of your own. So my tip to you is always dumpster dive on the Empire's property. Anyways, so we nicely have our lettering all off here, and what I'm going to do is that raised lettering right in the corner is a little bit tough to get to. So I'm going to fold our paper here, and I'm going to really get in there. And that's coming off nicely, just with a little force. And what I'm doing is keeping these scratch marks uniform, keeping them going in one direction, because that helps add to the wear of our gun here. And I'm going to use my fingers here, see if everything is pretty smooth, and I just have a little bit there in the corner that I'm going to get. So I'm kind of going from Star Wars to Daredevil, because I guess he uses his tactile senses and his hearing senses. All right, so if you take a close look there, all that is gone, nicely smooth. You can see here, completely smooth. So that's off, ready to go. And what I'm going to do is that 100 leaves some scratch marks on here, which is nice, but I'm going to take down those scratch marks just a little bit with our 220. So let me just cut a square of 220. Just one square, because that's all the rebellion could afford right now. Gotta make this sandpaper work. So what we're doing is sanding away the big scratches and leaving it kind of like a nice matte finish, which is something you want to do with plastic anyways, because it helps paint adhere to plastic. Plastic can always be a little problematic when it comes to paint. So there we go. You can see nice and smooth there, ready for paint. So we're not done. There's a couple things that really kind of bug me about this gun, and I think if we take a little time, we can make it look so much better. So I am just taking another round of look-see on the other side. Look at that, tricking. More raised lettering. Nice try, Empire. Gonna go ahead and get rid of that, just to add to the authenticity of our gun here. You can see it just melt away. So how many of you guys have seen the Han Solo movie? And I'm very embarrassed to say that I haven't yet. Usually I'm there like the first day. I don't care. Even the Jar Jar Binks ones, I was there. Even the second Jar Jar Binks and the third Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, you know, I'm committed to Star Wars, so I'm gonna watch all the movies. But this particular one, just because of my travel schedule and work, I know, excuses, but I'm going to make it a point this weekend to go see it. And that's what kind of inspired me to make this gun. So, post in the comments who your favorite Rebel character is. Mine happens to be this little Chewbacca up here. He is watching me. He is supervising us through this entire process. So I'm using the light here, tilting this just a little bit, and you can see I can run my finger smooth right over, and it appears to be all gone. And looking at the other areas of the gun, I don't think we have any other writing. So all that is done. I'm gonna go ahead and take my 220 just to smooth out some of these 100 grit scratches here. Now, how many of you guys have been Star Wars characters for Halloween? So, I tried to go as Chewbacca, but I think people didn't get the costume. They said I looked like a giant rolled up carpet. It was crushing. Okay, it was really crushing. But, you know, I rocked that rolled carpet. I don't care. With 2 googly eyeballs that I glued on. I rocked my Chewbacca. Anyways, we got the first portion of this done. We have it all sanded, all of our markings that can kind of give away the gun, that, you know, it's not a real Rebel gun. So that's done. The next thing is I'm just going to look at some of these details, and are there details that we can enhance? Because if you think about it, this is a gun that's been used in battle. This looks too pristine new, other than the blatant white and orange coloring on it. This still looks pretty new to me. And if you think, I mean, it's been dropped, it's been banged up against things, let's add a few scratch marks. Now, you can do this with paint, but it always looks so much more realistic when the marring is actually on the plastic or on the piece that you're working with. So this is a little bit of trial and error, and I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, maybe on this part of the gun, if he's right-handed, you put the gun down, it gets smacked up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is take a file, and you can find this in the woodworking section or automotive section, and I'm just gonna go ahead and hold the gun like so, and just create a mark just like that, and you can see the mark right there. And we're gonna go ahead and accent this mark by going a couple times. So here we have, this gun really took a beating, and I'm gonna go ahead and add kind of like a spider crack to it. See if I can get it to look realistic. Kind of the more scratches, the better. I'm going to keep them in somewhat so you can see it doesn't look all that impressive against the white, but when we paint something like this, it's going to really stand out. So I'm going to do this to a couple other areas. Of course, the handle is an area that gets a ton of use, so we can do the same there, maybe even with the grip. And I'm going to turn this around maybe so I'm not hitting anything here. And now, of course, you can use a hobby knife, and I have a couple hobby knives set aside here. You can accomplish the same thing. This is, you know, one of my favorite sizes to use. It gives you a little bit more control, but I actually love these long files because you can just use a good bit of leverage, and then I like to just give it a little bit of a flare at the end. Now, you don't want all your scratches kind of going the same way. You want them to kind of skew a little bit. After all, in battle, well, you don't control what happens. And so I made kind of like a nice little X mark, and maybe for this mark, I just won't have it come all the way. It's just like a little scratch. So we'll repeat that on the next side. But let me see if there's any other kind of raised areas, because those are the areas that are going to get hit the most. I'm like conducting an orchestra here. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Or not. Anyways, in my head I am. Anyways, getting these a little bit marred and scratched up, and then what we're going to do is sand some of these scratches smooth, so that way they don't look like shards of plastic, because if this were metal, obviously these pieces would be chipping off. So this side I think has some pretty decent weathering at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look at the other side. Maybe repeat some of these marrings. Now this is a little tougher because you have this raised edge here, this raised section. So perhaps going at it like this might work a little bit better for us. And I'm going to go ahead and hold it like that and just rock my file back and forth. And maybe make this one a little longer. I took a really good fall. And the idea is you want to stay in your groove, which is not always possible. Heck, I try. And then, because you never know, maybe one of these stormtroopers got lucky because, you know, they don't hit anything. I don't know, like, who's running their program over there. But maybe one of their blasters did hit this gun. And we can even make, like, a burn mark on it or something later on. So enough of that. I think the gun is pretty well weathered. And one of the things that I noticed, which is kind of lame on this gun, is the fact that if you look at the barrel, well, first of all, ain't nothing coming out of there. So we have to remove this end cap here. But before we do that, I'm noticing that it does add some structure to this. And I also don't like the fact that these little holes are not holes at all. They're just kind of indentations. So I say we make it look way more realistic by knocking these out. Now there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can use a Dremel. This plastic is rather thin, so you might be able to get away with that. We're gonna try a drill. So if you're still watching, this is the part where the fail meter is increasing. We were down here with the scratches because there's not very many ways to screw that up. But right now, we're at about right here with the fail meter. So let's give it a whirl here. And I'm going to try and hold this steady and also hold it in a way that you all can see it, which may not be the most comfortable thing for me, but, you know, you guys are more important. All right. And let me just get this a little bit better. Grip. Now in terms of a drill bit, I went ahead and using the size that was kind of already on here, so I can't really tell you what specific size this is, but you can see that it does a pretty good job. I'm just gonna jiggle it around in there a little bit, widen the hole, and I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this. Jiggle it around. And because this plastic is pretty thin, it goes rather quickly without any cracking. Another trick I find with plastic is to simply use a heat gun that helps just soften it up a bit. Oh, y'all saw that. The thing almost failed, right? We almost had a fail. That going. And one more. Now this one we might have another piece of plastic in the back here, but I am not quite sure. So we're going to take this one kind of slow. Yep, so it appears there was thicker plastic around these first holes there. And so we're going to basically repeat along this entire row. And you guys are going to watch in awe with this. So as I turn this on, of course, I've watched a lot of these DIY videos. It can get kind of loud, so I do apologize. It's a new thing that we are testing out against the Empire, is a sonic weapon of some sort. So I'll try and warn you when to turn the volume down. So for this part, yeah, you might want to turn that volume knob down. wasn't the rule, like drill away from yourself. See what I do? For your benefit only, so you can see everything that's going on. I will cut towards myself, I will drill towards myself, and flamethrower towards myself if I have to. All for the good of prop making and science and all things Star Wars and geek. Anyways, so looks like I got one more row on this side, and then we got the other side to go. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me. And for those of you just joining, we are trying to make a realistic Han Solo DL-44 blaster gun. So here we go. All right, so it does look like we have some nice evenly spaced holes on this side. Looking good. And wash, rinse, repeat on the other side. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I know when I flipped that, you guys were like, oh my God, there's more drilling. Sweet. The fail meter just went up, guys. You saw that. All right, guys, we have one more row right here, and I know you're probably asking the same thing I'm asking right now, is what am I gonna do with my life when I'm done this drilling? It's like nothing can be as epic as this. Over and over and over again. Last one, woo, break time. And I'm just going to turn around a little bit and take a break from that. Okay, break over. we have more drilling and all the fun such things to do. But on this gun, one of the things I noticed that I was drilling is that, okay, so we have this side drilled and we have this side drilled, but look at the top and look at the bottom. I mean, that's kind of lame, you know? So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try and drill along this seam. And this part, I'm kind of happy that I left this end cap on here just to kind of structurally hold things together. And once I have those drilled, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that right there, because we need blast material to come out of there. And I heard that Han Solo blaster can pierce through stormtrooper armor. So that's pretty cool, which, you know, they can't hit you anyway, so I don't know why you need to blast through their armor. So let me grab, let's see, my Sharpie here and see if we can position these holes. Now, I'm a big time eyeballer. Measuring, schmeasuring. I'm the kind that loves to measure once and cut twice, sometimes like 4 times, but you know, it's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace right here. Just hold a hole, marry them up, just like that. And you can see kind of what I'm doing, creating these ribs here. And they're, you know, mostly not crooked. Right there. And what I'm going to do is along the seam where these intersect, I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle around it. Just like that. And if you guys are joining us just now and wondering what the heck is she doing to that child's toy, she's destroying it. Well, we're doing it for a great cause, and that is the cause of the rebellion, because the Empire is going to eat it soon with my amazing blaster gun. So this is going to be rather difficult to do because there's really no way to really hold this and drill. So those of you with your little flags where you have the success flag and the fail-o-meter flag, start waving those fails, because this could go interestingly. So I think what I'm going to do is hold this like this and use my stomach area to go ahead and use it as a holder. And I'm going to go ahead, and if these holes are not that straight, well, you know, the rebellion doesn't have fancy tools. All right, ears, everybody! Oh my gosh, that looks kind of straight. Holy. Let's try it. As the further we get out to the end, the harder it's going to get. So, let's see. That's mostly straight. You know, if you're in battle, you're not going to notice. And I can note that my curvature there is not quite right, so I'm going to go ahead and you know what? This was so exciting that my the Force camera over here fell asleep. So let me wake it up. It was like, oh my god, this drilling is torturous. Please stop. So let me take a second here, and let's get you rolling again. All right. It's like, no, not more with the drilling. All right, here we go again. And ears, people. Whoa, fail, fail. Oh my gosh. They ran out of budget for gloves, so. And we are going to repeat this on the other side. Now you see what I've gone through for the rebellion, and I sent in my application quite a while ago to be considered. and they haven't gotten back to me, you know? And heck, I am drilling right through my fingers trying to join the rebellion, and there's just no love, no appreciation. Anyways, we're gonna do the back side now and get a couple holes going because we like the detail. No one really sees underneath the gun, but I think it'll be cool to have that detail. And I'm making these mostly straight, mostly. And there we go. I'm gonna draw my little circles as to where I think they go. Eyeballing it, eyeballing it. There we go. That's kind of mostly where it's gonna go. And oh my gosh, the last round of drilling. It's like, what else are we gonna do with this day? Because we've already hit the high point of the day, which is more drilling. All right, everybody, ears. And this time I might be able to kind of go like this action. And this is not off or anything. Gosh, last one. Whew. And with that, the drilling is done. I can't believe it. I just feel like I've gotten to a huge step in my life and it's just over, you know. Anyways, I'm thinking these scratches are looking pretty good on this side. We have our barrel totally drilled out here, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit with sandpaper. Plus, we're going to sand down the entire thing anyways for the paint to adhere. So now that we don't really need this nasty looking reinforcement, like really the blast is going to come out through these holes, I am not convinced. So this looks like it's held in by just a light glue, so I'm just going to poke around. And you can use a screwdriver. This is actually an automotive body trim tool here. And I'm just gonna see if I can pry this gently, because I'm gonna take it that this plastic is rather thin and could break. So when you're having trouble, the next tool that I run to for plastic is a little bit of a heat gun. And it doesn't take much. Just warm it up a little bit. Warm up that glue. See if that makes things any easier, and we can just repeat the process. Worst case scenario, well, we can always Dremel it out or drill it out, whatever tool of choice we decide. Ooh, this glue is strong. Which begs the question, is the rebellion putting all of its budget in glue rather than like weapons and stuff? Anyways, there we go. Our little piece is gone, and we can actually blast stuff through this. Yay! So let me take a look at what that looks like on the inside, and that is pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this out. Maybe this shape kind of looks like it'll work. It's kind of like a half flat on one side and a half curve on the other. Let's see if I can fit this in here. Yep, and I'm just gonna go ahead and clean out the inside of our barrel. get them clean from our little pieces. That looks pretty good. So we have our barrel done, or our barrel tip there done. We don't need these anymore, and I'm just gonna take another look at it. I think probably one of the other things that bothers me is this dial. Now this is a dial that Han Solo has to be able to turn to really adjust the scope, but really it's so smooth, there's no real way to turn it. So I figure, why don't we make it look like a real dial? And normally there's grips, there's grooves on the sides where your fingers can grab and you can actually turn this. So let's figure out a way to do that. And I think either a file like this, although this one is kind of long. The other idea I have is using a hobby knife. So we're actually going to try both and see which one gives us the results we want without marring the rest of the surface. And that's kind of key. So I'm going to go ahead and start at this notch here and just give that more definition. And that's actually turning out pretty well. So now the trick will be trying to get these as evenly spaced as I can. So maybe I can use my finger and partially file my finger here. Sacrifices. And there we go. So we have a notch. And once we have a notch, I can bring it out. So you can see how I have it. We have our first little notch there, and I'm going to repeat that around because that makes more sense that it's something that we can turn with our fingers. And I'm going to make it as evenly spaced as I can. Whoop. The trick is getting that very first one to go, and I'm finding that this file is doing a pretty good job. I don't have to really move to the knife because we saw some of the moments that we had with the drill, you know, so I don't want to push it. So getting some notches in there. And this reminds me a lot of like painting a car. It's all that prep work before the painting. The painting is actually the easy part. The prep work beforehand, that's what takes the longest. But little things like this, when we do our dry brushing life build, it's going to make all the difference. So I'm going to continue our little dial there, and you can even look from the top. You can see it's already notching the way I want it to notch. And we'll just have to take some air to this to clean out all these little grooves. And do it this in a way you guys might be able to see a little better, but not so great for me to work. So while I do this, there's a couple other areas that I noticed that I'll probably take a stab at, which is adding grooves, just like I'm doing here, like that, just adding these different kind of grooves to these down here. Because right now, it looks like we have a bracket in place that holds the scope, even though it's, you know, stuck to the gun in this, you know, example, but we're gonna pretend. And so this has to be adjustable here. So there's gotta be either some kind of screw or looking thing that we can create some kind of effect. And again, we can use the same notching that we have on this side down here for both of these. And what I can do is just drill a little notch as if it's kind of like an Allen key that you have to use to open these up. This, you know, works out pretty well, I think. And then after that, a couple more scuffs, I think we're pretty good to go. So other than creating the grooves like you see here, the other thing that I'd like to do is open up our scope here. Obviously, it's gotta see, and Han Solo has to see, or the mechanism inside. If it's Star Wars, it's probably super advanced, has got to see, and the same thing here. And I thought it would be super cool if we found some kind of glass glass piece to put here, or this can even be a piece of plexi that we can cut out. I think would look super cool. So it looks a little more realistic. So one of the things that I see is this seam right here. And this seam, I guess we can use to turn as well and get a better view or different views using the scope. So what I'm going to do is just accentuate the groove on this scope here using this similar tool, because I kind of like the effect that it brought. So you can see here how it's already creating a nice groove, and when we paint that, that's really going to show up. Because if you think about it, we're going to put our first coat of paint on this, probably black. And what happens is all the really tiny details tend to get filled in. So any small details you think you might lose, you definitely want to accentuate them more, like we're doing here. And I think that this will be a nice touch. Right here. Now, of course, this plastic is rather thin, so I don't want to be too aggressive with it because I'll end up just filing a hole right through the piece here. That's no good. So. And I think that is looking pretty good. You can see it's much more visible there, and I'm just going to take, and now I'm risking it here. Like, this is the point where you look at something and you're like, I think it's good enough, but I'm going to take it that next step and watch this thing pop off. I'm calling it. So I called it first. So real gentle like. Oh dear. And, all right, so I called it wrong. It did not pop off. Good for me. Anyways, you can see here, it looks like we've accentuated our groove here. And when we open this up, it'll actually look like a piece that can be turned, which I think will look really cool. So now I'm gonna mimic what I've done here to this end where there is no guide groove. So this is where things can get a little crooked, but we're gonna go for it anyways. So I'm gonna lay this down, and it's always that first go at it that can slip and slide. And see, something like that I think will mimic what we got going on this side. So I'm going to continue. Let me get a better view here. And it's already going crooked. It's already going crooked. So let's see if we can, whoop, that's too much correction. Let's see if we can correct. After all, this gun has been in battles. It's not going to be 100%. And whatever crookedness we make, we can always correct with battle marks, you know, so that way it obscures kind of like where the line is. But we're going to try and get it as straight as we want. Now, those of you may have drawn a line to just follow the line and get it perfect. But we are eyeballing it. And let's see if I can get as close as possible. The other way to make a lot of these marks is using your Dremel tool. But on certain plastics, it can be a little aggressive. So I kind of like to take the hand file and go at it manually like that. Whoop. Wanting to create extra marks. All right, so for the most part, that is pretty straight. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can perfect it just a little bit more. And get the groove a little smoother. And if we cut into the plastic a little more, that will just help it look a little straighter. And my table jiggles when it wiggles. All right. So that is looking pretty bad right there. You can see that the line is not very straight. We have some It can't decide where it wants to go, you know, right on top there, but we're gonna make that work with us because again, if this were a real gun, it's been knocked this way, that way, you know, even like this. So we're gonna actually create a couple scratch marks as if it's been scratched from the top, the scope. So let me just get this to the thickness that I like here. Close. Especially this jagged edge here. I'm going to try and smooth that out. All right, and then typically the scope, I like it to have a little bit of a bevel inwards. So why don't we just bevel that out? And to do that, I think I'm going to just switch to this larger flat file here. And we're going to go ahead and bevel it. And it's just kind of thinking as you do this about the way guns, you know, work. And you don't really have to know a ton about, you know, guns. Just thinking that if the scope is on this end, maybe a nice beveled edge would look nice. And it's not always easy when the object is not super flat. So we have there, and I think we got our edges there and our edge looking pretty good here. And I'm going to go ahead and continue on this, but you all get the idea of what's going on here. So I think really the only thing that I would like to try and accomplish is looking at this firing muzzle here. We have these nice little indentations right there, but I kind of get the feeling they might get buried a little bit in the paint. So I'm going to see if I can maybe make them a little deeper, but not too deep because this plastic looks real thin and I'm probably going to go right through the plastic and make a hole. In that case, this will be a battle-scarred weapon and it's going to have some holes in it. Anyways, so first I'm going to see if I can go to one of my files. Like here's a nice round one and we can try that. I also have a great Dremel tool here that's got this tip, and if you look at it, it just so very well coincides with this crevice. The problem is the position of the tool. I think we're going to be hitting a couple things here. So I'm going to start with the file and see if we have to upgrade or do one of them and then decide it's a very bad idea and abort mission. And it kind of sounds like a lot of my things here are aborting mission. They're like, oh my God, we've seen drilling, we've seen sanding and filing. Get on with it, right? So we're just gonna do a couple of these. And of course, thank you all for joining in on our fun live stream. And this is just kind of like a fun behind the scenes thing that we do. You build along with us. And of course, we represent all this stuff again during a clip show. So you're gonna see all the most important parts sped up so you don't have to worry about watching all the drilling again. And you get to see all the important steps that you need to replicate in order to get this done. And also we'll warn you about all of the fails, like don't do this, don't do that. But if you stuck around, you actually got to see and witness firsthand a lot of these fails and laugh with me, laugh at me, however, you know, however you want to describe it. So see how we got some nice depth going on here. So that's really going to add for when we paint this thing. So I'm going to give it a little bit more, getting a little aggressive now with the file. I'm going to angle this down. You can see where we're going with this. So the next step really is to go ahead and knock out these these ends right here and see if maybe I can stick a cool laser pointer in the middle of the scope here. I think that would be pretty cool. And when we stream again, this will be painted black. All of the details will be done on it that I like. Scratch marks, a lot of these emphasizing of details that are already here. And we're going to start the dry brushing process and trying to make it look weathered, like it's been fired. Maybe we can make the muzzle look like it's all burnt from all that you know, stormtrooper armor piercing blast coming out of this thing. So I'm gonna keep rocking and rolling with more drilling, sanding, and filing. I know you guys are like, don't do this to us. We really want to watch more of this stuff. Can you drill some more stuff? So I will catch you guys next time. Next week, we're going to be posting on social media when we're going to air the live build final of this. And then the clip show, stay tuned for that. So follow us everywhere at Wonderspawn. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Search us out there, and I will see you guys next time. We're also going to be putting our schedule out so you can see when Gearhead Diva returns and some of our other awesome shows that are currently in production. So until then, may the force be with you all. See ya!